Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
At the coffee shop again, Glenn, what up?
Man, I love the coffee shop. I still have a lot of coffee here, man. A lot to talk about.
You got like a big Yeti. What is that, like 2-gallon jug?
What's going on?
Are you still drinking that high-powered, caffeinated, over-caffeinated stuff, or is that just straight-up coffee?
No, this is straight-up coffee.
You went old school.
Oh, you mean the bullet coffee I was drinking?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that stuff. But I started drinking this drink, and we're not sponsored, by this beverage at all. But I started drinking Celsius, right? Which is like 6 cups of coffee, and literally, I think I had like 3 or 4 a day this week. It's not good for me.
Can I ask you a question? Would you pass the roadside sobriety test with having 8 shots of coffee in you?
I think it's almost.
Officer, I'm okay.
I've never done crack or coke, but I'm telling you what. I mean, that's what I imagine, and so I've decided to stop drinking that stuff. It just tunes me up too much. It's almost changes like my chemical nature.
Right.
So, but yes, I have a mild, general, medium.
You're so old school, man. You're like a comfortable slipper.
I know, man. What's up?
Hey, we got a table for wait for it. We got a table for 4 this morning.
I love table for 4s.
Usually we do table for 3s, but we got a special 2-parter happening here.
Part 1, part 2.
Part 1, part 2. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Let's rock.
Yeah. So, let me kind of cue this up. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, so Karen and Bruce spoke in an open breakfast meeting at our home group of Mokina Fellowship, and they spoke out there, and it was such a great share because I heard my story from somebody else's lips, and I felt their pain, and I shared in the victory that they're living right now. And Bruce is probably going to say, hey, life isn't all bells and roses here, but
not all the time.
Not all the time. But anyway, I got Bruce and Karen in the studio with us today.
Welcome, Karen. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you.
And we're just so grateful to have you guys with us. And the really interesting part about this, Glenn, and I was super excited when I called you after the breakfast to tell you this, is that so Bruce is on the sober path journey with us in the rooms of AA, and then Karen, yes, and then Karen is involved on the in the journey of Al-Anon, and I just I've never been to an Al-Anon meeting where Karen's there. Thursday nights, do you ever go to Thursday nights?
I go to Sundays. I work full time, so Sundays are a good time for me.
Sundays are a better time for you, yeah. So I went to a Thursday night Al-Anon meeting, and we were talking before the coffee started. The persona of Al-Anon is the street brand is like, oh, people just get around and beef about the drunks, and boy, I went to a couple of Al-Anon meetings because I've got an alcoholic in my life too. It's so not that, right? And so we're going to be excited to explore that over the next couple of weeks.
I know, I can't wait. So my alcoholic journey is probably 99.5% AA, and I probably have a 0.5% understanding of Al-Anon. I have never been to an Al-Anon meeting. I think I'm immediately putting that on my list of cool stuff to do.
And you got
because I think it's good to learn.
Yeah, and you know what? Just like an AA meeting, there's probably good ones and bad ones. So, my recommendation to the new guy on the path to sobriety is if you go to a bad meeting, then either something's wrong with you, but I don't go there, or just go to a different meeting. There's thousands of meetings, hundreds of thousands of meetings, online, offline. There's no reason you can't find a good meeting, right? And
so one of the things I'm looking forward to embracing that more because I have a sponsee whose wife is going through Al-Anon, and I just it will help me understand the dynamic better. And I'm like how you described. I thought.
Oh yeah.
I thought the target was going to be on the alcoholic's chest, and it's all their problem, and all they do is complain, and moan and groan of how perfect their life would be if their alcoholic wasn't in their life. You know? So I'm looking forward to hearing about reality, Bruce and Karen.
Yeah. So I thought the way we break it down is Bruce, because we've been in the rooms now, that Sunday morning open breakfast. So he's from the rooms, and we thought maybe we'd share a little bit about his journey and see how it intermingles with families getting through this, because it was a challenge for my family to get through it. But what was my role, and it really, I was the cause. My choices were the cause of a lot of the scenario consequences, right? The consequences of my drinking. So, so Bruce, you want to tell us a little bit about your journey? And
yeah, absolutely. My journey started in 2007 and March 21st of 2007. So I'm coming up on 17 years of sobriety. And
let me just park there for a second.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, and wow. When I first came in to sobriety, that just the concept of that kind of time sober would blow me away, because I didn't think I could get 20 days.
Yeah, I had the same feeling when I first came into sobriety, and people said I had 1 year or 5 years or anything above that. I was like, I'm concentrating on 20 minutes at a time.
Right.
And literally,
Wow.
my first couple days, week was, I just got to focus on the next 20 minutes, because if the next 20, people say 24 hours at a day program, that was too big of a concept for me. I
love that.
I couldn't
Yeah.
think that far ahead. And if I did, just like today, if I project into the future, it brings me anxiety,
Sure.
because it's unknown, and I fear it. And if I go back in the past, I get depression because of the things that I did to people.
Right.
Kind of bums me out,
Right.
when I think about it. So it
I
was
love
very
that.
important for me to, at first, live 20 minutes at a time. I'm just going to survive these 20 minutes and not drink and focus on the real issue, which was me. It wasn't the alcohol. The alcohol is just a symptom of what's going on.
Do you find yourself still kind of living by that 20-minute cycle?
no, no.
Do you go back to it occasionally and go, I just need to get through the next 20 minutes?
I've rarely...
We are now up to 40 minutes, Mike.
Yeah, right.
I've rarely had that. I could say that I'm pretty good at living in the moment. And,
Oh, wow.
And I just, if I ever do get overwhelmed, I'm like, just make it through today.
There you go.
I don't even, I don't regress and go all the way back to the 20-minute management program, but I do recall
having
how
that in your
shaky
toolbox. Sure.
that was, not only physically and emotionally for me, just to survive 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time at the very beginning.
Love it.
So I started off with drinking, and I broke my leg in 2004 in a car accident. I shattered my femur, and I work in the medical field, so I had access to all kinds
Sure.
of narcotics.
You were your own pharmacy.
I was my own pharmacy and had a lot of doctor friends writing me scripts
Right.
for pain meds besides my regular doc.
Sure.
So I basically had a bowl of M&M narcotics, and I found myself I got addicted to those.
Sure.
So not only did now I have an alcohol issue, now I got a narcotic issue on top of it, and it is a progressive disease. If you don't treat it, it progressed.
Right.
It got worse.
So I need to jump in. I may have missed it. So Karen and Bruce, were you guys together through all this time?
Yes,
Okay.
we were. Right, we were.
right.
yeah, we've been married 34 years.
There we go.
Of July, so we've been together through
Congratulations.
the whole thing.
Thank
And
When does the book come out?
yeah, that'd be nice.
The Netflix documentary.
Yeah, right.
That would be nice. But we've been together through the whole thing, and I don't think we had I hate to say it, but we had a little bit of a unique situation. I don't think she was really cognitive of what was going on with me, because I worked 11 in the morning till 11 at night. I'd come home, say hi to her, and then I would jump on the bandwagon
Sure.
all night.
Right, yeah,
You know,
right.
and then
And she's
would,
sleeping.
Right,
Right.
and she would leave in the morning, go to work.
Yeah. And, of course, you're comfortably passed out. So
Or
at that
or
point-
getting there, or
getting
I'd
there,
stay
right.
up all night doing
Sure.
stuff because I was all hyped up and intoxicated and impaired, and she'd either I'd be up and I'd say goodbye to her, or I'd be just laying down and say goodbye to her, and
Right. No idea.
yeah,
Right.
I think she might have had an inkling, and I think the inkling was my behavior in between the episodes of drinking was the person and the character defects that I had were becoming more and more aware. Like, who's this guy I married? He's not the same guy that,
Right.
I wanted to get involved with.
So Karen,
this.
you were seeing his progression.
Right, I would see an escalation in his behavior. Like he'd want to argue about things. He'd say, "Oh, you don't love me," and it would be like 11 o'clock or about 12 o'clock when he'd come home midnight. And I'm like, "Well, I have to get up in 4.5 hours," and I really wasn't looking to discuss our love life.
Yeah, right.
At midnight. I was just like, "Why is this becoming such a?" And his behavior would be more and more progressive and aggressive, and I'm just like, "Why is this going on?" In our relationship? And it was, we at the time we have one child, and he was like 8 or 9 at the time, and it was, so we're really juggling our work lives with our family life. I would take Cody to our to the family that cared for him in the morning, pick him up when I get off at work, and so it was all kind of ships in the night family type of stuff. And his behavior was just becoming more and more aggressive. He'd come home and he'd be very volatile about his work day, and he was always, he was a strong leader at work because he's very smart, and people looked to him for leadership, but he'd come home and he's like, "Yeah, I blasted this person," and I'm just like, wow, why, So
were you connecting the dots, if I could? Were you connecting the dots to drugs and alcohol?
I'm going to just say I didn't really pull it all together at the time. At the time, I was just like, what is going on with him? And then I saw that he was becoming more and more dependent on narcotics.
Okay.
And it was escalating, where he was seeking more. And it was like just becoming more prevalent.
Right.
Like he needed more and more and more. And
I think the other thing is that, like I said, it progressed for me, and I worked in the medical field, and
Sure. It was just so.
I got sick of drinking, like the volume. You know what I mean? I wasn't like I would drink wine when she went to bed, a bottle or two, and then I just got sick of that, and I finally figured out one day, hey, I have access to medical grade alcohol, and I started injecting it. So I would get home at 11, go into the bathroom, inject a bunch of alcohol, and I was drunk before the needle hit the ground.
See, that is something that I have never tried.
Well, you got to be in the medical field to get it.
Until today, now I'm like, that's the answer, right?
Yeah. You can't smell it on them.
No, I'm like,
you don't see them drinking.
You're not spilling it.
Right. I'm not. There's not 1,000 bottles. Right. There's not 1,000 bottles around.
That's the answer.
So I think that's why she wasn't really cognitive of what.
Sure, because the evidence
going on.
The evidence wasn't really around,
but the behavior was the clues
behavior,
for sure was in how it's changing, and I never, and I think in an Al-Anon point of view that they pick up on the behavior unless the drinking's obvious.
Yeah, right.
But the behavioral changes, and those behavioral changes that she was picking up on were my character defects.
Yeah, right.
That's what they were. I'm being an ass.
That's right. And they were exasperated.
Right.
By the alcohol drug use or the withdrawal from that in between.
Right. And the way that it becomes cyclic in the family, our family is she's codependent and I'm exacerbating her behavior because of my drinking and my character defects. So now we have a cycle going on unless one of us break it.
It ain't no Norman Rockwell, is it?
No,
it's not going to go smooth, So eventually I just came to the conclusion of, one, I'm going to destroy my family, or I'm going to kill myself. And either option I'm not up to doing. Right. So I got I went into rehab.
So can you just park at the moment, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just park at that moment where you said enough is enough, or what was your eye-opening moment where you made that pivotal change? That surrender, if you will.
I think it came like in progressive behavior, like over a week. In a week's time, I was literally driving my son, who was a little boy, and I would purposely place him directly in back of me, so he couldn't see what I was doing while I was driving. And while I was driving, I would manage the steering wheel with my knees and be injecting alcohol at the same time. mixed with narcotics that I was stealing from work, because of being in the medical field. And I would run into periods of I'm overdosing. Then I would reverse myself with Narcan, get violently ill,
gosh.
Yes.
and then an hour later, I'm re-injecting again.
Right.
And that was like, that's when it came to, this is crazy.
So you're in a driveway, you're in your living room.
I'm driving down the
You're
street.
driving and you're saying, this is crazy.
I'm like,
Yeah, right.
I don't want my kid to see me doing this.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, probably within a week, I probably OD'd like 3 or 4 times and reversed it myself. And I was like, death is at the door. This is coming.
It's so funny. If I could just back up
Yeah.
here, at the beginning of your story, it's like, well, yeah, so I just was like wine. I'm like, this guy's a softball.
Well, I
This
might
guy's
have
a
drank 2
softball.
bottles
He's
of wine.
just a couple
he's
bottles of
mainlining
wine.
alcohol while he's driving.
Man,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's serious stuff. And I love what you said at the very beginning, because you just painted the picture. You didn't start doing that on day one. It's progressive.
Oh, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
progressive. You don't start at the end. You work your way to it.
And I should have realized it when I was young, because everything that I did, I abused, and I had cycles of abuse. When I was young and in high school, I abused alcohol. I started drinking in 7th grade. During the school day, I would hide alcohol out in the bushes. I did that for a while, then went to high school and did the drinking thing. And then I went to college and got into cocaine. Then I started abusing anabolic steroids. So everything I touched,
you abused.
I abused.
Excess,
I really abused it, and and I go through these cycles, and then, once I got in the medical field, I got free access to whatever I want, and I know I'm an alcoholic, and things are accelerating, and alcohol got to the point where I could drink a ton, and it wasn't doing much for me. You know what I mean? And I didn't like to drink the volume, and that's how I got.
Can I ask a crazy question?
the-
What are you embracing today? What's your drug of choice today? Right? Because if I'm habitual, like I've got these speakers in my home office, right? And so I always got to get bigger ones and better ones, and then I got to upgrade I got to upgrade the tuner, and then I need to get the better model that just came out, right? So I still have those tendencies. I think I put them into a healthier stuff, but do you find you still have those tendencies?
I do, but they're kind of bizarre, because my biggest concern on a daily basis is the love of my family. That's my biggest obsession. Is
Boy, you beat my speakers there.
I just
Put me
want
to
to.
shame.
How do you feel about those speakers
Yeah,
down
right.
there?
Yeah, I don't care.
Man, oh,
I
man.
was materialistic. I went through that. I went through that phase. I went through it with tools. I got like every tool there is, and
So you're saying there's a chance for me to come around?
yeah.
Keep coming back,
The
Mikey.
good thing is on the other side of the flip coin, recovery, if you work it, is
I know.
also progressive.
Isn't it?
Absolutely right.
Yes.
You know what I
Amen.
mean?
Amen
So
to that. Yep.
You
That's
can get to the
fantastic.
point of love and tolerance, and when I really think about it, what is the most? I think one thing to pick out in sobriety to help you through sobriety, so you have a nucleus to work on, is you have to decide as an individual what is the most important thing to you. Narrow it down to one thing.
My sobriety.
Mine wasn't my sobriety; it was my family.
Yeah.
And because
Interesting.
I knew it was also my sobriety.
Right.
In a way, I knew if I drink,
You'd
lose it all.
I'd lose the family. But I went into recovery because I was losing my family, and I didn't want to lose my family, and I lost my soul already. So I was gone.
I was just going to say
I was gone.
Right.
And
I
I'm like,
lost myself.
I don't want
Yep.
to spread this disease any further than I have to my family.
That's really unique.
You know?
That's really unique. Because I hear in the rooms so much. You got to do it for yourself. Got to do it for yourself. And to your point, I lost myself.
I got to the point where you just don't give a damn about
Yeah,
yourself.
I think that's the progressive part, because as I resonate with your story, Bruce, and I love the whole materialistic.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm going to the ski shop today. I have a perfect pair of skis, and I'm already thinking, hey, I wonder if they have new ones out, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's just dumb.
The best
right?
new ones.
Yeah.
But I love how Bruce, snapped me out of it and said, well, it's because serving my family is an absolute critical
I know
part of
that
my-
about you.
But but when we talk about progressive, I'm looking at Bruce progressively getting down the scale, right? And we've talked about that recently, saying, hey, when you're up here, it's like boiling the frog, right? When you're up here, you would never sign up for, hey, I'm mainlining alcohol and drugs while I'm driving my kid around the car and driving with my knees, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing myself back. No way would you go from there to signing up for that, right? But over time, it gets worse and worse. But for me, I chose booze over my family. I lost my entire.
Absolutely.
And I knew it, and I'm like, well, my daughters won't talk to me. Well, they're kind of pains in the asses anyhow, right? And
you
not really.
You
but,
reframed
right.
it.
Yeah,
right.
but that's how you justify it, right? And I'm like, this booze is more important. They're not doing anything for me. This booze is doing something for me.
Well, that's why I said that once you get into recovery, you have to choose something besides the drug or the drink. Right. That was my main priority. That was my number one drive. Now that I'm in recovery, I have to find something new to be my number one drive to help me to get through the steps.
I love it.
Because I have to have a purpose of my life.
I love that P word.
It could be materialistic things. It could be my own ego and be the best at what I can be in the position at work or whatever I want it to be. But I really had to narrow it down and understand that, my family is going to be the most important thing to me along with my sobriety. I don't want to lose either. And I know they're closely, connected. I remember my kid having when I was first into recovery, I think it was his maybe 5th or 6th birthday, and we had a party at the house, and I was brand new into sobriety. Everybody's drinking, having a good time, and I had to leave the house, and I had to walk up to my son and say, buddy, I can't do this. I got to leave, and explain to him the sickness that I had. It's not that I don't love you. It's just I do love you, and if I stick around, I'm going to get in trouble, and I'm going to be right back where I was before, if not worse.
And right. You know that.
And so I'll just be gone for a little bit, and I'll come back.
So how much did AA play in helping you get new purpose?
I think it played a huge role because it drove me to the point of making that ultimate decision of what is my number one priority in my life, and it's sobriety and my family, because I didn't want to lose either. And I know they talk about you got to do it for yourself, and I think I am doing it for myself.
Sure, absolutely.
Selfishly, I don't want to lose my life, and I don't want to lose my family. And those are the most important things that keep me through the drive. When you're new in sobriety, I think what keeps you through the drive is doing the steps. Right. I'm focused on this step, I'm moving on to the next step, but somewhere after that, and you get years of recovery in you, yes, I work the steps on a daily basis, individually, depending on what's going on in my day, but what is my ultimate goal besides staying sober? Like I said, the drinking is a symptom. Right. So I can set the drink down, because I did set the drink down when I first came to AA. I didn't work the steps my first year. I didn't have a sponsor, and I wanted to peel my skin off.
Was he miserable, Karen?
Oh my gosh.
I was so, literally, I wanted to peel my skin off, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, wait a minute. I really honestly thought, like most newcomers, if I just don't drink, the problems will resolve.
And that's
and
just
what
not the case.
And it became such a slap in the face to
Problem
me.
is you feel it.
Right.
It became such a rude
There's no escape.
slap in the face when I got to step 4 that, you know what, buddy? The problem is you.
Yeah, look in the mirror, right.
It is nothing else besides you.
Karen, I've got a question. His grandest fear, Bruce's grandest fear, was losing the family. Was he close?
Yes, absolutely. I talked to a lawyer, and of course I talked to every friend I had, and everybody said, get divorced, get out of there, and that's what people, that's what your friends say. They want the best for you. And I was ashamed, to be in those circumstances. We're both bright people in the healthcare field, and it's just like, how does this happen? How is it's just tearing us apart? And he was so. We were both angry, but we were angry for different reasons. He was like, why is this all happening to me? And I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. Why is this all happening to me? I'm like a good person. What did I do to deserve this? And we're trying to raise a son, and it's like, and he'd be trying to explain to our son what was going on. And I'm like, he's young. You shouldn't be telling him all this stuff. It was just like, there's nothing, we didn't agree on anything as far as when we were very early in our recovery. Nor did I feel that I needed to do anything. I thought I was the victim. I was very victimized in this, and I was very angry about it. And I just wanted it to go away.
Right, and this is such an interesting dynamic, because there's Bruce on the other side of the table saying, I wanted this to be closer. I mean, that was his drive to get things closer, but yet the drugs and alcohol had this pivot point in there. I can't wait to unpack more of how you got through this, because I'm telling you, I get goosebumps just the fact that you guys are sitting here, that you forged through this disease and came out on the other side.
Totally. The sense
blows me away.
The sense that I get sitting here, I mean, first of all, this should be like 10 episodes.
Right.
I mean, we're trying to pack a lot into from a speed perspective, and but the one thing that I'd like to, so I have 17 things I'm trying to process here in 2 sentences. So
excuse me, barista, can we get a decaf over here, please?
So yeah, no more Celsius. So Bruce, you're still actively involved with AA and working a sober program in AA. You go to meetings, right?
Oh, a lot.
Do you sponsor people?
A lot.
All right. Do you get involved with community and activities and doing stuff?
Within AA?
Yeah.
Yes. Somewhat.
Okay. So you're busy in AA, right?
Yeah, I'm real busy. I say my biggest 2 things are attending meetings, and I sponsor a lot of folks.
Okay.
So
great.
I'm on the phone a lot of times.
So you're on the phone a lot of times. It takes time. So ditto. I said to my wife the other day, she says, she looked at me, she goes, because I have some cool stuff that I'm working on, and she's like, I am so happy that you're on this path. And she goes, I forget the exact words, but I looked at her and I said, the reason that all of this is working today is because of your support.
Right.
I have been with women. I dated a woman. She was cool on some fronts. She hated AA. She hated the people in AA. She would purposely be late, so I'd be late to my meetings. Well, here's a key, folks. I'm no longer with her.
Yeah, right.
And I'm with a woman I've been married to over 5 years, who, I mean, if I've talked to a sponsee, nothing is more important than me talking to that sponsee. If I go to a meeting, she'll pack my bag lunch. Get your ass to a meeting, right? Yeah. If I have to do podcasts at 6 in the morning, we like to have coffee on the weekends. So what? We'll have coffee when you get back. I mean, and so, Karen, the support, because it takes a lot to do that, right? And I've been in the wrestling matches where, everything was a problem because I was the person was being selfish, and you have to in this type, and I'm looking forward to switching gears and talk about Al-Anon, but I mean it for me, sobriety has to be my life. For me, sobriety is my number one thing.
Right.
I don't have a relationship with God. I don't have my church relationships. I don't have my family relationships. I don't have I don't have I have nothing if I'm not sober. So I do a ton of things. So I'm not. But no, just the level of support is really important.
And it goes both ways. I support her and her program.
Totally, which I'm looking.
I'm like, do whatever you want to do.
Do
whatever you want to do. You want to go to a meeting tonight, and I'll cook dinner. I don't care. As long as
what time's dinner, by the way, and what are you having?
It all depends on one day.
I like Oreos. So as long as it includes Oreos.
Ask me an hour before dinner, and I'll tell you what the game plan is. Besides that, I have no clue.
That's awesome.
I'm living in the moment.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I'd like to wrap up this session. We're going to jump in. But please come back, next week, because I think unpacking how this whole dynamic works on both fronts. Al-Anon AA is really special, and we need more people. We need to get the word out that the programs both work. So thank you so much for sharing, Bruce.
That's awesome.
Good stuff,
Thanks, Bruce.
man. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. See you next week, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks,
Bye.
Bruce.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.